Good morning, Saitlanders. How are you? We hope that you are very well, all things considered in these difficult times. Many of you will have seen the photographs that did the rounds frantically on social media yesterday. Yesterday being the, let me not mess this up, the 2nd of November. Wednesday, the 2nd of November, the photographs of the, as News24.com puts it, severe damage to Kusile chimney. So this article, I suppose, came out late yesterday because those photographs broke late. But they were going hammer and tongs across social media. And it turns out that the events that took place happened over a week ago. I'm going to run you through this article and make a few comments because I think that there's a lot that's worth being said. It reads, severe damage to a chimney at Kusile is the latest blow to the beleaguered power station. On Wednesday, Eskom said that the flue gas duct, now from what I understand, a flue gas duct is like a chimney in a house. And in fact, I know that a part of the chimney, maybe it's the interior, is called the flue. That's the correct name in English. Flue gas duct. Exiting the sulfur dioxide absorber failed on the horizontal rubber expansion joint as well as the compensator, a bend to direct flue gas up the chimney and to allow for thermal expansion of the chimney. So as it gets hotter and cooler, there's this rubber expansion joint and it allows for it to expand, and then there's a compensator, a bend, apparently also to allow for thermal expansion. I don't know. While the unit was on forced shutdown for flue gas desulfurization recirculating pump repairs. It's all a bit too much for me. Spokesperson Skonati Manchancha said, a photo of the flue gas duct shows extensive damage, and Eskom said Unit 1 would remain offline for a few months. Investigations are underway. I'm sure no stone will be left unturned. Eskom is consulting with specialists. Unit 2 was not generating power at the time, but its return to service is on hold as a precaution. Okay, so I don't know if I'm following this very intuitively, but certainly in simple English language terms, they haven't mentioned Unit 2 hitherto in this report. So I suppose we're meant to assume that the damage to Unit 1 somehow had or may have had an impact upon Unit 2. Units 3 and 4 are generating electricity. In September, a fire broke out at a gas air heater at Unit 5, which is being commissioned and has not yet been synchronized to the grid. Last week, Eskom Chief Operating Officer Jan Oberholzer told Parliament that the fire would delay the unit's completion by a whole year until December 2024. Oberholzer said the incident is projected to cost Eskom 150 million rand a month, which is related to the delays in getting the nearly 800 megawatt unit online much later than expected. No foul play is suspected. Unit 6 was still on track to come online in the middle of 2024. So, what do we know? We know that the country, the Republic of South Africa, under the leadership of the African National Congress, is experiencing a phenomenal electricity crisis precipitated by poor strategic planning pertaining to investment, and very much exacerbated by theft, corruption, robbery, stealing, the whole African National Congress deployed cadre thing. And we know that there are many units over and above the generally perceived problem that I've just described. There are a little bit of failures here, there, here, there, here, there, here, there. So it's not only a matter of investment in new units that the ANC should have undertaken many years ago, but now it's, and not just a matter of the theft and so on, but now it's a matter of failures. So maintenance and aging. And in this picture, we discover that roughly 11 days ago, there was a big problem with this flue exit duct and the compensator. And we are reminded that in September, just 2 months ago, a fire broke out, which has led to Unit 5. We're not even going to talk about 6, which was only ever intended to come online in December 2024. Well, with their revised schedules, you know, they're late with everything. I'm dying to tell you a story. Another day I'll tell you a story about the African National Congress being late. So, we know now that we have fundamental problems. We know that we have super problems on top of those fundamentals, or superficial. And we're hearing, after weeks and months of recent load shedding, that another unit has gone down. And this is kind of supplemented by a reminder that Unit 5 caught fire. And it's going to cost Eskom 150 million rand a month. So I suppose that the picture that I'm sketching is a bit of a balagan, spaghetti or a stew, all mixed up. To make the point that things are only getting worse, even with the newest and best. And the long and the short of it, ladies and gentlemen, is that we must all mark plan. We have to. It seems as if we are on track to experience catastrophic electricity failures in South Africa, well beyond what we've experienced hitherto. Now, it's very difficult for you and me to do much about that. There's very little we can do. We can move to Perth. We can go and live in a cabin in the woods and live hand to mouth, which, by the way, most of us cannot afford to do. We cannot do anything to insulate our businesses in most cases, because we're either not the head of the business, or if we are, our business doesn't have the money for us to invest in 500,000 rands worth of, solar power. One thing that we can do is to view this crisis as the journey of 1,000 miles, which begins with the first step. And I'm going to tell you a brief anecdote now, which may or may not be helpful to you. But if it helps 3 people, if it helps just one, it will have been worth me telling it. Recently, not so long ago, 6 weeks ago perhaps, during the height of the recent blackouts, somebody posted a message on one of the local Vanderkloof WhatsApp groups. I think it was, I could be mistaken, I think it was Vanderkloovers Help Mekaar, which is a nice group. And I, again, could be mistaken, but something I recall quite distinctly, that something at the time gave me the impression that it was an Oomie talking. And he was rather naively asking about solar. Clearly, he had no idea. And he was saying, how much does it cost? So he hadn't looked into it. He hadn't inquired anybody else. Out of the blue, he's saying, what does this solar malarkey cost? And somebody said to him, about 250,000 Rand, and they were correct. They were not wrong. Everything that I'm going to say further is not intended to dispute that person's accurate reply. To do a good job of a 3-bedroom house, maybe their kids, I don't know, yeah, you're looking at perhaps not quite 250 grand, but it's in that vicinity. I then replied saying, look, I'm not contradicting or disputing anybody, but perhaps this advice will be helpful. 5 years ago, I got one solar panel and a motor car battery. Then, over time, I managed to save up for another 9 solar panels. And I got an inverter, which was not a terribly good inverter, although I'm grateful for it. And then I got a second inverter, a demo model that I got for Bakshi, as my dad would say. And then I was able to get the rails on which they mount. And then Mr. Miller helped me with 8 old batteries. Better than nothing. And I certainly couldn't afford to buy those 8 batteries. At the time, they would have cost roughly 200, they were 200 amp hour batteries. I think those gel batteries were going in 2019 for about 6 grand a pop, maybe a little bit less. So call it 8 fives, 40,000 Rand. And then a friend of Mr. Miller's, a family member of Mr. Miller's, helped me, and actually a family member and a friend, 2 people, 2 of them came here and helped me by installing the batteries, the inverter, and the new solar panels properly. And I paid a certain amount. Oh yes, we bought cabling and what have you. The long and the short of it is that I was able to put in my system for not more than 35,000 Rand. It's debatable exactly how much it cost, but not more than 35,000 Rand. I'm not saying it's equally easy for everybody. I'm not saying that everybody has Daddy Gustav like I do. We all understand this. But if I can give hope to one family, if I can encourage one small group of conservatives to appreciate the severity of our electricity crisis, and to appreciate the catastrophic failure of the system, perhaps not the entire system all at once simultaneously, but what may be classed as catastrophic failure is clearly on the horizon. And we see evidence of it coming out more and more and more and more and more every day. I had no idea. Obviously, I had seen something because I process tons of social media every day so that I can talk well with Mr. Miller, so that I know what's going on in the world, so that Saitland is not the gang that, you know, that we're up there, that we've got a clue, we know what's cooking. Politics, geopolitics, strategy, drama, developments, government, expropriation without compensation. We're doing this. But I'm quite positive that I never read anything that told me that, quite besides this event of the 23rd of October, that in September a unit failed and shall be out until December 2024. That's in Eskom language. In Afrikaans or English, that means sometime beyond Eskom December 24. And that it will cost Eskom 150 million Rand a month. I didn't hear that. It may have been published somewhere, but not through the tons that I sift through every day, or not in the tons. And we've got these events of 10 days ago. So lots of evidence that things are not getting better, they're getting worse, on top of an already bad foundation, the foundation of the past 30 years. I don't mean the 100-year foundation, which was a very solid one. And on top of that thing that lies above the foundation, the walls and the windows and the plumbing and the tiling, namely the poor maintenance. It's fires, it's flues falling and cracking and dislocating. It's everywhere now, ladies and gentlemen. And you have got to understand that it's not going to get better. And it's not going to be easy for us to cope with this. But if we take small steps, like getting a second hand, that's what a armgat platsak I was. That I bought a second hand car battery. And I got a friend to give me a discount on a solar panel. One of. In fact, it was practically a freebie. It adds up. It took me another, that was 2017, 18, 19, 2 whole years and a bit. 2 years and 3 months ish. Wow! Now I can get 9 panels. Gee, I wonder if I can't twist this oak's arm to help me with something. In the meantime, I've picked up a second-hand demo model inverter. And gee, aren't I so lucky, I've got another one not so good, but I can say I have a backup inverter too that I picked up somewhere. Hey, and then Mr. Miller says, well, in that case, I've got 8 batteries that are past their prime, but you're welcome. I'll make another plan. The next thing, he says to a family friend of his, a family member, a relative, hey man, won't you help this struggling Irishman over here? That guy says to a third, a mutual friend of his and Mr. Miller's, hey man, come and help me. So we spend a Saturday morning at Simon's house. We'll fix this thing quick sticks. And I'm sitting with a system that is by no means 250,000 rands worth. But people in the dorp who know about solar are advising the old oomies, hey, if you want a system that works, it's going to cost you $250,000. And that's the system that I have. It would never cost $250,000. That's not what I mean. I mean, it works. It's a system that works. And works well. It's not perfect. It's not the R250,000 system, but it works. If I had 3 kids and a wife staying with me, sadly I don't, I would probably have to dig deep to get another couple of batteries. The system's not adequate for 5 people, but it adequate for 5 people to run reliably regardless of the circumstances, assuming that I put a lot of stuff off. Yeah? Switch off air conditioners and heaters and things like that. And I hope and pray that some of the people who watch this will be inspired to take a small step forward, even if it's not readily affordable. Guys, I'll tell you, I didn't want this video to be long, but I know what it's like to battle, to really properly battle. I resigned from a very good job, very high-paying job, because I was fed up with it. Fed up with the morals, fed up with the everything. And it led to a decline in my life. I lost everything. I lived, hey guys, it was shameful, man. I slept on the floor in a back room with no furniture, no running water, no toilet, no shower, no sink, no bath, nothing for 3 years. 3 years. I was offered my job back many times, 8 times. But I didn't want it, and I wanted to stick to my guns and to find something new and decent and respectable, and here I am at Saitlanders. But the point is just, it was at that time that I began to prepare food. And I was earning so little money, for which I'm very grateful, by the way. The people who were paying me were doing it almost as a charity, because our business just wasn't working, the 2 businesses. So I shall remain pitifully grateful to them all of the days of my life. And I'm positive that God used them as instruments in my life. However, I was earning so much money that my first preparation was 1 can. I was earning so little money. It was 1 can of tuna. And I think the next month I bought, could have been a 2nd can of tuna and 2 liters of oil. So, as far as this energy crisis is concerned, we've spoken about it a lot, and I forewarn you, I caution you, we are going to continue to speak about it a lot, because it is not going away, and not everybody has fully woken up to it yet. Therefore, we must yet speak about it. Ad infinitum, if that's what's required. Ad nauseum, if that's what's required, to convey the message to our people whom we love so much and who are going to suffer through no fault of their own. Thank you. Thank you very much for watching this video. Goodbye, and God bless all of you. May He bless and keep you in the difficult times that lie ahead of us. Bye-bye.